I've been jealous of a number of people over the last little while because they've been doing something I wish I was. They've been part of SHOT Show in Las Vegas. Our next guest is someone that was there for part of the week, Cam Edwards, host of Cam and Company on NRA News. It's going on, what, 10, 12 years now, Cam?
It'll be 12 years coming up in April of this year. Thanks, Brian.
Amazing, amazing stuff. And I've had the pleasure of being on your show with you several times, both over the phone, radio type interviews, in person at CPAC. And thanks for taking the time for us today. Give us a sense of what SHOT Show's like for people that don't know it. Or, I mean, if you're into guns, you know SHOT Show, but maybe you haven't been there.
It's a small city that sets up in, the Sands Convention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. There are around 55,000 people attending this show this week.
Wow.
Now, this is not a consumer show. This isn't open to the public. So we're talking about the people who, are manufacturing firearms, the distributors, the retailers, training instructors, nonprofit groups. It is it's the industry's trade show. So it's the Detroit Auto Show or the Consumer Electronics Show, but for the shooting, hunting, outdoor trade industry.
So 55,000 people, and it's not even open to the public.
Exactly. And it's been growing, every year, right along with the industry itself. We see a lot of companies from around the world, not just in the United States. You see a lot of attendees from around the world. I mean, you walk down the main hall at the Sands Convention Center, you'll hear, it'll sound like the United Nations. I can't tell you how many different languages I heard spoken over the last couple of days.
Well, maybe you heard some Canadian being spoken to.
I did hear Canadian. I did.
Well, I know that
all this talk of Timbits and where do I find the Timbits around here, I couldn't help them, but yeah.
Well, I know our friend Tony Bernardo's down there. I believe Ross Spagrad from PGW, guys that make the Coyote, Timberwolf rifle, some amazing kit that they make out of Winnipeg. I know he's down there. And then, American friends like Dana Lesh showing up to do her show for radio in the Blaze. So it's quite the media hub there as well, isn't there?
It really, really is, and it's gotten, again, right along with the show itself. But that's gotten bigger over the last 5 years or so as the gun control issue has heated up once again. There has been more media interest, but there's also hundreds of people who are working within the industry itself on the media side. You have a lot of gun blogs. You have a lot of YouTube stars who are, reviewing products and they're putting out their own videos. They've got a following. So
they're in there now as well. I mean, I can't remember his name, but I love watching, and I know I used him on the air at Sun News. The guy that just. How many peeps can a 50 cal bullet go through? How many TVs? I forget. I mean, this is pretty much his whole channel, or it was.
There, absolutely, and they'll be there as well. In fact, Monday, the day before the convention or the trade show actually starts, they have media day at the range, and so you can go out. All of the companies have their products there at a range about 40 miles from Las Vegas. You get to spend the day shooting and shooting with other people's ammo, which is even better. So This is a chance to for the distributors and the retailers to see the products that are out there, but it's also a chance for people to talk with their sponsors. For instance, we've got a lot of outdoor channel, Sportsman channel personalities that are going to be at Sportsman or at SHOT Show this week, and it's one of the few places and one of the few times of the year where everybody is sort of all in one place. So there are a ton of meetings and networking that goes on at an event like this too.
Well, I know that's part of what the Beasley brothers are doing, the guys behind Canada in the Rough, which, if you haven't seen it, fantastic show. Eva Shockey, young woman coming up in the hunting field. I know she's doing all of that. And everyone's promoting their sponsors, but getting to meet them. You mentioned the range. I can't remember if I saw it on your Twitter feed or your Instagram, but I think the day you landed, you went to the range, didn't you, as soon as you landed in Vegas?
I did. That was actually a different range. That was one of the many gun ranges that's located in Las Vegas. It's very popular. A lot of tourists will come in from all over the world to Las Vegas. And it's weird, Brian, people who live in a country where there is no Second Amendment, they are really interested in exercising their right to bear arms, at least at a range, and to try out a gun. So we went to an event Sunday night as soon as we landed. Former Navy SEAL Ron Bellin, former Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell, Team Never Quit
Oh,
is
wow.
this line of ammunition that that they are releasing. And so we had a chance to talk with our friend Ron Bellin about it and get a chance to see the new ammo in action. And it was a really neat event.
It would be an honor to go shooting with those guys. I haven't shot on the Vegas Strip or in Vegas before because I looked at how much it cost. I have a fair idea of what ammo costs and thought that's just stupidly expensive. But if you don't have a chance to shoot any other way, hey, it's fantastic.
People will put this in part of their Vegas budget. They'll say, well, I'm not going to gamble this much money. I'm going to go to the range instead and, rent a handgun. You could rent a Tommy gun there and use it safely and responsibly. So, yeah, I mean, these ranges, and some of them are just absolutely beautiful. I mean, they're the Country Club style ranges that are opening up there in Vegas.
Okay, so before we get onto policy then, have you shot a Tommy gun or similar? Like back in my reserve days, I was able to shoot fully auto SMG, one of the most fun pieces of kit I've ever fired.
I have shot a Tommy gun.
Was it fun?
Oh, it's fantastic. The last full auto that I shot, actually, so our on-location sponsor this year for NRA News Cam and Company is a company called AdCore Defense, and they're based out of Baltimore, Maryland. I got a chance to go up there and go to the factory, and I got a chance to shoot the very first AdCore rifle that was made. This was a gun that they were hoping that the military would use. In fact, I think they're still in the process of this. So it's a select fire rifle. You can shoot in semi-auto mode, but you can also shoot in full auto. And I got to shoot with Medal of Honor recipient Clinton Romachet, who put the gun in my hand, flipped it over to full auto, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. Now, look, in both our countries, as people call for more gun control, one of the things I don't think they realize is the difference between full auto, semi-auto, select fire. These are terms that you know, that I know, that the gunnies know. But there's a lot of people who think, oh, semi-automatic means you just pull the trigger and you can spray like I see in the movies. And constantly trying to educate people that if you want to ban semi-automatic rifles, you're pretty much taking out everything but your grandfather's old bolt action.
Yeah, it's the semi-automatic. What people think of as what the gun control advocates call a modern battlefield weapon of war is not the gun that our soldiers use. Right? They use the select fire, which means they can fire one pull of the trigger, one bullet comes out. They can fire in 3-round bursts, one pull of the trigger, 3 rounds come out, or they can fire in full auto, where they keep their finger on the trigger and the bullets keep coming out. What we're talking about, as you say, Brian, is the same action that firearms have always had. Every time you pull the trigger, a bullet will come out. This is no different than a lever action. Right? All that we're talking about here is that the gun does the work of loading the next round of ammunition, as opposed to a lever action where you pull that lever and that's you doing the action, or a revolver, even as a semi-auto in that sense. These are people who want to understand the terminology. I know it can get confusing, but listen, it's not nearly as confusing as trying to figure out the different calibers of ammunition. This is a pretty basic term here. Semi-automatic, one pull of the trigger, and 1 round comes out.
It's and yet we've got, I know you've got something going on with, again, calls for assault weapon bans. Never fully define or properly define what an assault weapon is. That's a whole conversation. But we've got that going on here now as well with the new Liberal government. I know that people are always shocked when I tell them how closely you follow Canada's gun control measures and the political and policy scene up here. Justin Trudeau now saying we've got to get handguns and assault weapons off our streets. I didn't know we had an assault weapon problem anywhere in Canada, definitely not on the streets. The gun crime that we do have, yeah, there's a lot of handguns, but they're all the illegal. Once again, though, maybe you have a better idea of this because you spend more time on it. Why do politicians focus on law-abiding gun owners instead of the criminals? Because that's what they're going at here. A new report out from the RCMP looking at banning several different types of semi-autos because they claim if you use the shoestring trick that you can make it full auto. Not true, but this is their claim.
So there are a couple of reasons why we see politicians do this. One, many of them don't like the idea of gun ownership, and they don't have a problem restricting gun ownership for law-abiding citizens because it won't impact them. They've got their armed security. They didn't grow up hunting, maybe. They have no use for a firearm in their life, so why should anybody else have a use for a firearm in theirs? But it's also easy for politicians to quote, do something, right? We have to do something. And if you're a lawmaker, what do? You propose a law. Even if you don't actually pass that law, even if it doesn't become law, by proposing that law, you have done something. And a lot of these anti-gun politicians, they take their lead from anti-gun groups like Everytown for Gun Safety, who propose, again, measures that are going after the law-abiding gun owner. Now, you talk to law enforcement, particularly those men and women who are actually patrolling the streets, they're not really in favor of additional gun control measures. What they are in favor of is actually enforcing the laws on the books because they see the dysfunction within the criminal justice system. You know, they make the arrest for a violent crime, and they see that individual back out on the street a short time later committing more violent crimes. We have in every city in this country, our violent crime problem really stems from a core group, maybe even in a city the size of Chicago, maybe we're talking about 5,000 individuals in a city of well over 1 million who are responsible for a disproportionate amount of violent crime. If we can aim our efforts there, instead of on the law-abiding gun owners, then we'll see violent crime dramatically be reduced in the most violent cities in this country.
My friends and family in the Chicago area, in Schaumburg, in Elgin, in Palatine, they can tell you where the bad neighborhoods are, and the shootings aren't happening out in those leafy suburbs. So we know where the problem is. It's will people go after it. You know, occasionally you get the brazen daylight shootings, I guess, is what will often drive politicians, whether it's a mass shooting or like we had in Toronto. You mentioned people with the revolving door of justice. Guy in Toronto walks into the Eaton Centre, downtown mall, middle of the day, walks into a food court and starts shooting someone. He was just out of jail. You know, that's the revolving door that you've got to stop. Listen, let me ask you about this before we end. I watched some of your coverage live from SHOT Show, and it looked like you were having a blast interviewing Gunny, the famous actor who has portrayed everyone from the drill sergeant on down to the mayor in Mississippi burning, the authority figure guy. Was that one of the highlights, interviewing Gunny?
You know, this is not the first time that I've had a chance to interview Gunny, but it is always a highlight whenever I get a chance to spend some time with him because he is, you know, he is just one of those guys where he's going to tell you what's on his mind. It doesn't matter if there's a camera in front of his face or a microphone or not. He is who he is. He doesn't change when the red light goes on. And, you know, as you know, Brian, that isn't always the case. So it's always fun and refreshing to talk to somebody like that. But you know, just as far as a man, Arlie Ermy is he's an incredible guy. He's got such an amazing life that he has led. So, yeah, it's always incredible to get a chance to spend some time talking with him. We had a chance to talk with country music singer Mark Wills, who's just a great guy talking about hunting with his daughter. You know, as cool as the products are at SHOT Show, my favorite part really is getting a chance to catch up with old friends. And I always walk away with a stack full of business cards of people that I've met who are fascinating people who, you know, end up oftentimes coming on NRA News Cam and Company as guests or, you know, just someone that I'll hang out with from now on every time I show up at SHOT or at the NRA annual meeting. So it's the people that makes it such an incredible event. Well, maybe next year I'll have to get down there as media covering the gun issues. Cam, great talking to you as always. If you want to check out some of Cam's coverage, you can find it at nranews.com.